as a teacher, you really need to take some time to reset some expectations and reset some of your classroom structures that maybe you've put into place and that you really want to kind of refocus, restructure, rethink. So this is always something I used to do over winter break. Of course, I would take my time to relax. So I please hope you are doing that. But if you haven't, or you have already, and you're ready to kind of start thinking about how am I going to reset some things for next year, literally, or things that are coming up that you really just want to make sure that like, hey, like this is different. I want this to look different. You want to make sure that you take the moment to reflect on what went well, what's going well, what do you really like? It might be a subject area that you really feel good with. It might be a center that you're running. It might be your classroom library, something that you're really proud of. Take some time to reflect on what is going well for you. That is always where I start, because it is nice to be like, oh, it's really good that I have like good paraprofessionals, or it's really good that I have a good team behind me. And that might be really helpful just to kind of take some time to reflect on what is going well for your classroom. Because it is sometimes hard for us to see those big picture things of the things that are going well. But then, of course, you want to take some time and reflect on what can I improve for the upcoming year? What do I want to change? What do I want to make better? What didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work out? And find out all of those things too. So we really want to make sure that we are taking the moment to say like, oh, that center is just not how I want it to be, or this class is just a mess and I want to change it, right? There are moments that it's going to be that way. And I hear that. I completely hear it. But really take some time to reflect on what can I change for the upcoming year, or what do I want to, right? Just write a list, get it all out of your head of the things that you were just like, I hated this class, or I hated this lesson, or I hated this expectation, because it happens. And then I want you to pick 2 of those areas from there. So, right, we've reflected on what went well, what do we want to improve on, what do we want to change, right? Because there's going to be some big, heavy things, and you're like, I want to do independent work centers. And that's a whole huge overhaul, and it's going to take you a while to do. It's also financially a lot to do sometimes. So really sit down and go, okay, what 2 areas can I improve from January to June then we are in school? And really sit down and go, okay, what does that look like? What steps do I need to take to get to those 2 things? That's all I'm saying, 2 things a year. Whether you did some improvements at the start of the year, or you're just like, nope, I need some improvements now. Pick 2 areas that you want to improve for the next school year, for this coming semester. So then when we get to the first day back, how are we going to restructure some of these things for the classroom to make them a little bit more smoother? We really want to take a moment to remind our students of the rules, remind our students of their expectations, because they've been gone for 2 weeks. They've had some fun. You've had some fun. Getting back into the rhythm can be hard. So yes, give themselves some grace as you come back in that first week back. Some of you might be going back Monday. Some of you might be off till the 8th like I am. But really resetting those expectations. Yes, it is annoying to re-go through the rules and re-go through the expectations, re-go through routines, but do those things just to remind the students of this is how it should be done. When you come in, you unpack your backpack. You don't go run to your desk. Reset those expectations for your students as you get back. So that also helps to reset some of the expectations and routines for staff. So as you're modeling and resetting those expectations for students, you're also modeling and resetting expectations for the staff that may have forgotten, that may have not been running it the way you wanted it to be run. So resetting those things and having that communication and modeling throughout, so that you know that your students are learning in the way that you want them to learn. And then you're resetting some of those, like I said, those expectations, those thoughts, those things, so that students really know what their expectations are and what they need to be doing. So I hope that is helpful to hear that, like, sometimes it's just like modeling, resetting some of those things. And then as you get into the rhythm of the school year again, make sure you are communicating with your staff of the things that need to be done. I know the 1 year that I rolled out independent work boxes for staff and students, it was really hard for them to understand this concept of left to right. Wait, I'm not supposed to help them? What does this mean? And so resetting some of those things, even if you have to find 5 or 10 minutes of time to communicate those things to your staff, it will be super helpful, so that they can see this is the expectation, this is what we should be doing, and just remind them of how the systematic instruction should be going if it is a new expectation. If you're rolling out a new center or a worksheet or an activity, make sure that you are teaching your staff how to utilize those things too. Because if not, it's really hard for them to follow and know what to do. So telling them what they need to be doing and showing them um, how you want things to be run. I know it's hard to find time with staff. If you can find 5 or 10 minutes before or after school, during lunchtime, just to kind of run through a couple things, resetting some expectations is also a really good thing. So again, just communicating those two things that you want to improve for the school year. And then also, if there are expectations that you want to reset for staff, that you are communicating with them. Again, finding that time to sit with them to say like, hey, I know we used to do this way. I really thought about it and I think it'd be better if we do this way. What do you think about it? Of course, you want to bring your staff involved in that process too and ask them like, what went well for us last year? What do you want to improve on for this year? All of those things. So that you are bringing in that collaborative communication too, because you might be changing something that they're like, oh my gosh, we really love that. So just being open to hearing what they have to say, and any questions that they might have or concerns that they might have or things that they might have seen that they really could improve on with you. So bringing them as part of the process also could really help, so that it is a collaborative thing. Again, finding that time to communicate is so important, especially when you're resetting those expectations. I am going to start wrapping up here. So if anybody has any questions, you are welcome to comment and I will find your comments and then try to answer them live. If not, like I said, I'm going to go back and just kind of check through the things that we need to do if you are trying to reset some classroom expectations, whether it's staff, whether it's students, whether it's a whole classroom setup that you really want to look at. There's lots of different things that you can be doing to reset some expectations as we get ready for back to school. So one, you're going to reflect on what went well. What did you do in this past semester that went really well? Write those things down. What things do you want to improve on in the upcoming year? Things that you want to change, things that just didn't make sense to you, things that didn't work the way you thought they would. So any restructuring that you need to do, this is the time to think about how we can do those things and reflect on them. And then you're going to pick 2 of those areas that you said, like, I want to improve on, and improve on those 2 areas by taking action steps to move forward. So write down what actually you need to do so that you can improve in those 2 areas. Like I said, if you're trying to restructure a center or redo a work task or an activity or a lesson or a subject area, even if you're trying to think bigger, make sure you're writing down those things of going, okay, I want it to look like this. I need those things. I need those materials. And then as that we get to that first day back and that first week back of school, making sure you are taking the time to reteach your students the expectations, the routines, and then you're modeling throughout that process so that when your staff are watching this, they are also modeling and going through those steps and processes as well. So that your staff is now doing it, and then communicate with your staff. If they have questions about what went well, what hasn't gone well, what you want to improve on, maybe they have some feedback too, of what you can do to really help restructure and reset some of the classroom expectations. So really finding that time to communicate and collaborate and bring them in as part of the process, because they are your classroom team. They're supporting you, you are supporting them. So make sure that you are doing that to make a better classroom for the upcoming year ahead, and just make those small improvements and small changes in your classroom so that we can provide education for students that is meaningful and more impactful for their learning. So